Hello, everyone. I wanted to spend 10 minutes today talking to you about how Fishlove came about, some of the successes we've had, some of the problems, and more importantly, to reflect on how change happens and when you know you've affected change, and also when to stop what you're trying to do because you've achieved what you set out to achieve. Before I start, I really wanted to ask how many of you in this theatre have come across Fishlove before coming here tonight? Oh, not that many. And how many people haven't seen Fishlove? It's about, well, more people haven't seen Fishlove. That's kind of surprising to me because we've had a lot of exposure, but it's one of the things I also wanted to talk to you about. I've worked on Fishlove for about 6 years now, and as I kind of sort of toil getting people to strip naked and hold a dead fish in their arms, one image keeps on coming back to me. I had a restaurant in London, and it was about 1997, and I walked in and I saw it's a conveyor belt sushi bar with plates running around, going around a conveyor belt. And the belt was full of bluefin tuna sushi. Now, I don't know whether any of you have had bluefin tuna, but it is the most delicious fish to eat, especially raw. 2 years later, I walked into my restaurant, and there was none on the belt. And I kind of sort of went behind in the kitchen and told my chefs off. And I said, why the hell haven't you got bluefin tuna on the belt? And they said, well, can't get hold of any. And I did a bit of research, and it quickly became apparent that bluefin tuna was dying out. It was on the extinction list in the Mediterranean. Greenpeace was saying that to eat bluefin was akin to eating a rhinoceros. And so we promptly took it off the menu. We were the first UK restaurant to take it off the menu. But bluefin, what happened to bluefin is a kind of sort of was symbolic of how quickly something can change. You're busy, we're all busy doing our little business, I've got a restaurant, and suddenly, behind the scenes, something collapses, and a fish that you think is going to be there forever is no longer there. Now, in London, there's only a couple of places that you can eat bluefin, and really you shouldn't, because, as I say, they're virtually extinct. And it's bluefin, the fate of the bluefin, that led me to think that I could do something as a restaurant owner. I could take off bluefin from the menu, for instance, but the real change has to happen from the top, politically. And that's what I started to think of doing. And it was 2009 that the makers of The End of the Line, the documentary that was to first alert people to this problem of overfishing, came to me. It was the middle of the recession. They'd made this documentary. No one, they'd run out of money, and they wanted a way of trying to get people to get interested in watching the movie. There was another problem, that the media just didn't care about what was happening to the seas. The predictions, the scientists were saying that by the middle of this century, so when our kids grow up, there would literally be no fish in the sea left if we continued to fish the way we fish. So that's how bad it was. And we sat down and we kind of analyzed what the problems were. The problems were that we weren't emotionally engaged with the issue. The fish were out of sight, out of mind. The issues about overfishing tend to be boring. It's all about net sizes, about maximum sustainable yield. But there's a more important thing, is that they're cold-blooded. We are land-based mammals. We care about the tiger. We care about the elephant. If we're going to care about some creatures in the sea, we'd rather it being a whale or a dolphin, but not a cod. And so we thought, okay, so that's a start. Okay, so we wanted to have an emotional engagement with fish. Let's stop calling fish seafood and start staring them in the face. Proper, fish. seeing fish the way they are. So that's the first thing we thought of. The second thing we thought of is that, as I said, the debate is slightly boring and textual, and people tend to switch off, so we wanted something very visual. So this is what we came up with, the picture of Greta Scacchi here. So because of my screenwriting work, I knew Greta, a wonderful actress who starred, I don't know whether you saw that wonderful film, White Mischief. She was extremely beautiful, still is. And she'd been asking me for a while, she wanted to help with the issue about fish. And so this is the picture we took. We released it, and by God, it was just unbelievable. That's why I'm surprised that many of you haven't seen Fishlove before coming here. It went around the world. It was in every single newspaper in the UK and beyond, and of course the internet. These days, to do that, you have to get an image, I believe. It's the important thing to attract people's attention is to get a good image, and then you're away. Once we did this, and it helped launch at the end of the line massively. They were very thankful for this to Greta and this particular photograph for making it such a success. Once we released that, people thought, okay, well that's done, right? We've done the job. You can't do it again. I go back to my sushi bar and start selling sushi and hope that other fish don't die out. And I kind of thought, well, why should I stop? It's such a great image. I could get other people to do this, okay? And which is what I've done. And we've released 5 or so every year since then, 2009. We've released images like the one Greta. I choose a famous photographer and get famous people, mostly thespians like Fiona Shaw. She was wonderful. To do these images, and the media lap it up, okay? And yeah, that's great. And every single time we release a series, it works. Okay, so we've had the front page of the Evening Standard twice. We've had the Sunday Times front cover once, and a big splash with the Sunday Times another time. This is not to mention the massive internet exposure that we get. This one of Lizzie Jagger is an interesting one, actually, because when Rankin, who's himself a celebrity photographer, got her sitting on that yellowfin tuna, we nearly came to blows over it because I didn't want him to do it. I thought it was way too provocative and controversial, but he insisted on doing it, and then I didn't want to release it. And then when I showed it to one of the PR persons, they said, well, you're crazy, you have to release it. And it was this image that really helped with changing the common fisheries policy in Europe. One of the things that we were fighting for. And in fact, it's and the next image is of Gillian Anderson, which also we launched because of the deep sea issue. Deep sea fishing is a terrible travesty of what we should be doing. It's totally unsustainable, both financially and environmentally, and can only survive through subsidy. And then, of course, the one that we released this year, which was Helena Bonham Carter. Now, Helena, it took me 2 years to convince her to do this. And guess what the reason why she said no? She was phobic about fish, and she didn't want to touch a fish. So I had come up with all of these ideas about photoshopping a fish in, and she came in, and she'd put that tattoo on her arm and covered herself in oil, and yeah. But that photograph on the front page of the Evening Standard achieved the largest marine protected zone in the world. And I was told that because 5 days after that image came into the Evening Standard, George Osborne announced it in the pre-budget speech this year. Okay, so it has had a success. The Independent, when the Mediterranean tuna, the numbers bounced back 2 years ago, credited Fishlove. Maria Damanaki, the fishing minister, the EU Commissioner for Fisheries and Marine Conservation, she invited Fishlove to exhibit the photographs within Brussels, within the Berlaymont building. Very controversial move in acknowledgement of the power of these images to affect change. You would have thought, wouldn't you, that I'd have the people on the phone constantly wanting to ask whether they could use Fishlove for their campaign. But that's not what is happening. I mean, we do release the images for particular campaigns, but it's always a struggle for me to convince a campaign group to take them on board. And this is where the problems come. Partly it's funding. They're reluctant to give money, but even when I offer them for free, there's a real distinct reluctance on the part of campaign groups to use these images. And I just wanted to analyze why that might be. I think, firstly, what I have seen is that they're very territorial. They're worried about losing their brand image, sharing it with something called Fishlove. They want it to be purely themselves, so they're not used to sharing and working together. The second thing is, of course, the controversial nature of these images. You know, it does show naked people with fish. But I say, well, go to H&M and see David Beckham naked other than his boxer shorts. Surely that's more nudity than what I'm showing. So I don't buy that. There's another thing which I've mentioned earlier, is this visceral disquiet about these images. And I think, you know, the fact that these people are hugging these fish does disturb people. And I think actually that's the key, to go back to what I said earlier about why I can keep on producing these images. Because they're not just one thing. Each photograph is a portrait of a person holding a fish. And it's art. I suppose that's the difference. It's not a campaign, it's art. Another reason why people... This is Julie Christie. That's my favorite, because I love Julie Christie. There's another issue, which is that I'm using dead fish. And this comes in the internet age, of course, you know, you get inundated in Facebook and social media by people complaining and attacking you. And I have to say that is the biggest critique of Fishlove, comes from the animal rights and lobby, and perhaps people who object to us using fish. And I think, well, that's great. You know, they are objecting to the fact that we're using dead fish. But there are thousands of these fish being landed every day, so I'm doing the job right? If people get upset, then that's good. So I don't buy that either. I can bat those criticisms away. The criticism I can't bat away so easily, and this is where I kind of sort of worry about proceeding with Fishlove, is the criticism from people who want to help me and want to hone the message. And their argument is that I'm getting front covers of the Evening Standard and the Sunday Times, but all people are looking at is Lizzie Jagger's breasts. They're not really interacting with the issue, are they? Some of them have said, well, you have to put the message in the photographs. You know, stop overfishing, or overfishing must end. But that's one image. It's not 100, right? And it's that criticism and the doubt that's seeded in my mind that maybe all I am doing is servicing the need of the male online with its 60 million viewers just to see celebrities naked. And that's really, really worrying. And it got to such a stage after Helena, in spite of, you know, all of the success stories that I've been told, you know, it had affected this change. I kind of wanted to give up this summer. But it was ironic, just at the moment that I was going to give up, that I got all of these phone calls from people, from restaurant chains and campaign groups wanting to put money in for the first time after six years. So, this is Judy Dench. So I've started a fresh campaign as of this week, and I've just photographed Emma Thompson, Mark Rylance, and who else? Lots of people. Anyway, so I think maybe my question about when a campaign should come to an end has almost been answered by other people. That other people want me to continue with these images. And so until they want me to stop, I think I'm going to continue. Thank you very much.